All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Melvin. I'm a 14-year-old artist and the host of Art and Chat, and this is going to be the second episode. Art and Chat is where I show and do live art and interview amazing artists from around the world. And for the second episode, I'm super excited. I have a special guest, a renowned Iranian American artist, Ali Sabet. He is a world famous artist and an OG successful artist in the Web3 world. And you've also collaborated with some prominent brands as well. So could you introduce yourself too?
Hey, Teresa, it's Ali here. Nice to meet you. I'm an artist. I've been painting and designing for a long time, probably at least 25 years. And I'm excited to be painting with you today.
Thank you so much. And today I'm going to draw a character from Sabet's Pixel Pop Academy course. If you don't know about that, you should definitely check it out. You can use the link in the description and get a 25% off discount on Sabet's Pixel Pop Academy. And make sure you tune in until the very end of the show. We're going to be announcing a special surprise. And last but not least, thank you so much to Remix for sponsoring this episode, and our community hubs are also on Remix, so you can check it out. There's some exclusive content and rewards. So, link for that is also in the comments. And I think we can get started as well to draw.
Awesome. I'm excited to draw some of your characters. These are beautiful. You've done such an amazing job creating this world. And I'm excited to draw some Ava Ramona.
Thank you. All right. So this is my screen. I'm going to be drawing this Pixel Pop from Sabbath's Pixel Pop Academy, a Halloween pop, and I'm so excited. I'm using Procreate for that. And all right, what are you drawing?
I'll be drawing Ava and Ramona, and I'm using a Cintiq tablet today, which is a tablet that attaches to the computer. Typically, I'm always on my iPad as well, like you, but when I'm doing, drawing art for, streaming, I tend to use my Cintiq tablet, and I'm using Sketches Pro. It's a very basic sketching and drawing application that's on the iPad, but they actually also make it available for the Mac version, which is really cool.
That's cool. I feel like, getting introduced to different mediums on the Cintiq Pro Wacom and on Procreate is pretty interesting. And I have a question for you while we draw. Could you share with us how you initially got into like the world of art and branding?
Yeah, so about 20 some odd years ago, I graduated college from Cal State Fullerton, and I was basically in advertising program. So as I created art there and learned how to design and all that stuff, I started to work for some different companies like Foot Cone and Belding, which was a big advertising agency. I got to work on Kawasaki, AirTouch, Taco Bell, all sorts of other different. I'm having a little bit of a technical issue here, so trying to figure this out while I talk. But basically, I did a lot of advertising for a couple of years, and then I moved on to starting my own little agency, which I focused mostly on logos and websites and packaging. And now, and then it took another 20 years before I decided that I was going to be a full-time painter. See, look at you going. I'm stuck already on the screen.
Oh, it's okay. We all have technical difficulties.
Look at this. I can only draw straight lines.
Oh,
This
that's
is,
interesting. Oh, I think that's because you're using the ruler.
oh, you're smart. Thank you. I was testing it. See?
Let's see.
That's awesome. Have you used this program before?
Nah, I saw the pink on the ruler, so I just thought it was on.
There we go. I'm free again. I can
Yay,
draw anything I want.
that's awesome.
That's freedom. Okay, thank you.
Of course. And you were mentioning about like working for like Taco Bell and how you got into painting and stuff. And how did you explore the world of NFTs, and what are your thoughts on like the impact for that on the art industry?
Oh, that's a lot of that's a heavy question this early in the morning. Actually, it's not morning anymore. It's 3 p.m. Uh, you know, I got into NFTs after transitioning full time into um, painting full time in 2016.
Mm.
So it took me a few years to be able to do full time art, and I was selling my artwork and I was making a living doing that for a while. And then it was time to, do different things. And a couple of my friends are like, "Hey, have you heard of NFTs?" I was like, "No, what is that?" And I had heard of crypto before. I had maybe some Ethereum long time ago, like 2017. And I'm like, okay, I know how to kind of do that. But the whole world of NFTs was really a strange one for me. And I kind of fumbled my way through. I didn't know what I was doing. I got my first wallet. I think it was a Fortmatic wallet, which is interesting. And I got myself, signed up on Known Origin. And I just uploaded a bunch of work. And as soon as I did, people started buying. And we were also on Clubhouse and Twitter. Those were also two new things that I had never heard before. So everything was new. But I got in and I started doing really well. And, I'm not sure, from a perspective of how it impacts the art world, obviously, like now I have all these works that are that are on the blockchain that's going to live forever, no matter what, whether somebody bought it or not. It's there. My kids can go back and look at the artwork and they can have access to it. And, you know, all my collectors can see their work and download it and save it and all sorts of good stuff. So it's a really magical place to be, I feel like, for artists, and the technology is going to go on forever doing other things as well.
Yeah.
I feel like everything is going to be an NFT.
Yeah. And like, in NFTs, it says a lot that, there's a lot of digital artworks as well. And but also I see a lot of, traditional art that's also like exploring Web3. And I feel like that's also making a mark. I feel like traditional art will also never go away. And seeing your works, it reminds me like more of like a graffiti style, and very like organic. And I wanted to know, have you ever done some sort of like graffiti work, or some sort of mural? Because that would be like pretty interesting, but especially with your style.
Yeah, I have. I've done a few walls, never illegally because I was too old to go to jail. It wouldn't have been fun to get caught for doing something illegal, but I have been asked to do a few walls here and there. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, when I could do it, it was always amazing to be able to have your art at such a large scale. A
Mm.
few years ago, I actually got the opportunity to have two huge murals that are over 40 feet tall and another one that's about 30 feet wide, and it's a glass piece. Those I didn't have to get on a ladder to do it. What happened was they actually just printed them out that big
Oh,
and put them up. And those are pretty amazing pieces to see. I'm still proud of those. And they're very local to me, so I can still visit and check it out. It's only about 20 minutes away from me.
that must be
So,
like so amazing, just to see your artwork like 20 minutes away. Um,
yeah.
I feel like that would be like such a cool experience. And also, some of your other artworks, I've seen you using Japanese brushes and inks. And I was wondering, like, what's your like connection, or what draws you towards these traditional art tools and brushes?
And truly, it's about expressing, energy and flow. And the fastest and easiest way I found that I could do that was through, ink and these brushes. They were just incredible to be able to just, have all this ink come out and put it on the canvas and paper and express yourself energetically. onto paper and stuff, and then start to form shapes and faces and things like that from it. So that's kind of how I discovered them. I actually bought a couple of really inexpensive ones from a grocery store, a Japanese grocery store here, and that's how it started my kind of love for that. And I've always loved Japanese culture. Obviously, if you look at my character work and pixel pop and all that stuff, it's all based in, character work like Hello Kitty and everything else. By the way, I'm really impressed by your shadows and the depth you create in these art pieces. I can't even get close to that. That's amazing. I don't even know how you did the shirt.
Thank you so much. I don't know,
Okay.
I'm just like, I really love, the cuteness of this character. I love that, the big head is what makes it like really cute.
Mm.
That's like one thing I wanted to take away from the artwork, but also like doing the eyes and the face differently. That was what interested me into thinking that we could draw each other's artworks. Um, the way you draw characters is different from how I draw characters. So I thought it would be really interesting for that. And I really love how you're doing Ramona too. I definitely see the Sabet style.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a little blend of your work and a little bit of pixel pop work and then a little bit of my painting world. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to, that's because I paint a lot of feminine energy, feminine, a lot of women and girls. So this is kind of a different variation of what you do,
Hmm.
what I do. And I do big eyes too, but these are really big eyes.
Whoa.
Uh,
Love those.
So
And
yeah, how did you come up with Ramona and Ava?
I honestly, I've always, loved drawing characters, and when I first drew Ava Ramona, that was like before going to the NFT space and stuff. It was when I did more traditional artworks, and I created Ava when I was 9 years old. Um,
Um,
yeah, I drew. I wanted to like since I didn't have any siblings, I really love drawing characters. I think that's what made me love to draw more characters, and especially with my character Ava, I wanted her to be kind of my personality, and she's kind of like my best friend as well. I would say, and also like a part of me. She's very calm. She loves donuts, and she's like a positive girl overall. That kind of represents one side of me, the one that wants to keep going, and that will always stay within me.
yeah.
And with Ramona, I created her like 2 years later, and that was when I wanted to sort of still stick to my personality, but like the bold side of my personality. And that's when these two characters were really kind of born. So coming into the NFT space, I discovered a lot of these projects, NFT projects and collections, and how they were able to like build their own community, um, and show their own art style. And that's how I decided to create Ava Ramona. And I wanted to introduce these characters to a lot of other young artists in the space and creators in the space. So yeah, that's how it happened. And um, I'm interested to know how did you decide to start to create the Pixel Pop Academy, to create Tokyo Punks? Basically, uh, when did you like decide to create these like cool collections as well? So you could like start with any one of them, you know?
So Pixel Pop is like 20 years old. It was actually a couple of characters I created called the Tenoshi twins.
Hmm.
So mine was a brother and a sister, and they were like, good at karate and soccer, and they were like very athletic, and it was really cool to create these little characters back then. And I would do stickers and T-shirts, and then I would try to sell them, but nobody would buy them, so I would end up having to sell them from the trunk of my car for gas money and food because I'd spent all my money on the T-shirts. And that was like years ago. So in 1999, I had these dreams of like having these character worlds. And once that didn't work out, then I actually started a social network for character designers years later, 2005. And then I created the bunny. Stitch Bunny was kind of like more hand drawn instead of more computerized.
Hmm.
And that was one of the submissions I had for my own social network, which was called Mojizu. And I created a bunch of other characters, and the name of the brand was initially it was called Snooki, Snooki, and I had a bunch of other characters too. And you try different things over the years, trying to get them out and get people to like them, and use characters to sell merchandise. And once that didn't work, I was like, all right. So in 2010, uh, Instagram became a big deal. And so I started to share the characters on Instagram, and I had this name called Pixel Pop for some other reason, and I decided to use it for the character world that I was going to start creating. And Instagram helped Pixel Pop become kind of popular.
Mhm.
And once that became popular, I was able to do some licensing deals and sell them on cell phone cases and all sorts of other stuff. And from there, you know, I was able to do a lot of that. And then I started painting different things. And then when I got into the NFT world, people were like, you should do a PFP collection. And I was very hesitant on doing PFPs because I don't do, I didn't like doing this roadmap and
Yeah.
what is that called? You have roadmaps and you have
Like,
utility and all that stuff. So once I realized how I was going to come into the NFT world as far as a PFP goes, I decided that the roadmap was love and the utility was art itself that people were getting.
mhm.
And that made me feel really comfortable. If people were going to love it for the art that I was going to create with the PFP collection, then I was willing to do it. And I did, and we created, and I had Tokyo Punks as kind of an experiment,
Yeah.
and it did really well, really fast. I think we sold out in like 26 minutes. There was 5,000 of them. I
Well,
did a 10K collection. I did a 5K collection, and it sold out really quick. And it was really a joyous moment because that was when I knew people really cared about art because they were buying it for the art.
that's
I wasn't, I wasn't promising anything crazy.
yeah, I feel like, it's amazing that, you held on to that going into the NFT space, and you found like a way that you could share these Tokyo punks. Because I really feel it's really interesting to know about your style and who you are. And how you talked about painting and creating characters before even going to the NFT space. I'm interested to know, what was your childhood connection with art? When did you like discover art really? How did you get introduced to basically your art math, I guess?
So I think when I was younger, I was always drawing. I lived in Iran, so I was 10 years old when I moved here. But when I was a kid, like 4 or 5 years old, I used to draw in my all my sketchbooks. I'm loving what you're doing with Stitch Bunny, and uh, it's so cute. I
Thank,
love the line quality is great too.
thank you so much.
And so basically, when I was a kid, I was doing all this different illustrations in my notebooks, and even the teachers would comment that they were good and they really liked it. They weren't like nobody really discouraged me. You know what I mean? So everybody was very encouraging, including my parents. Um, I never had really an art class though, but I continually doodled and everything. And all the way to high school, I would doodle in my books. I didn't think I was going to be a full time artist anytime soon, but it was something that I did just naturally all the time. I was also like kind of a little bit of an inventor. I like to invent things like little devices for exercise or all sorts of different things. So that was kind of another um, thing about my artwork was also like kind of creating things that you could use, which I love doing. And I just kept doing it until college. I didn't really explore myself as an artist till college, but I was always creating these characters and things like that. And my dream was to be kind of like the next Hello Kitty. So I would go into the Hello Kitty store, and I think I was really inspired by that culture, by the Japanese culture, and that's why a lot of my work has that Japanese influence, right?
Yeah. I love that, I can see the, Japanese style and like the Tokyo punks and the artworks that you do, especially like linking that with, using the Japanese brushes and ink. I feel like that's just like really interesting to see different a different art style. And I wanted to ask something interesting. Is there like a particular art style or genre that you enjoy that's like different from your artworks?
Yeah, I mean, I love some hyper realistic stuff that I can't do. I do like some anime. I don't watch anime, but I do enjoy anime. Um, and there's different things that people do that you're like, I could never do that, but I love looking at it. It's just so beautiful. Photography, I do enjoy photography. I'm the worst photographer on the planet. So I love seeing good photography, and you know, it's amazing to know that I have the best cameras, but I can't take any good shots at all. And so when you see people doing photography, I really enjoy that because I have a lot of respect for it.
Mhm.
Whereas a lot of people think that just because you got a good camera, you can take good photos.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the different traditions that I love. How were you inspired by your style? Where did you figure out your style?
I feel like, ever since I was little, I loved to read books, but specifically graphic novels or, when I was younger, picture books. Because what drew me towards it was like the style of drawing and how like much expression there was in it. How like exaggerated character expressions. I was like really into those, and I wanted to, convey that sort of expression as well. Um, and that's kind of how I started to create characters, looking at other cartoon characters, stuff like that. And basically, the stories that I had in my head, drawing was like a sort of journalism for me to like get it out, or whether it's like fictional stories that I have, or whether it's stories from my experiences. So that's where it reflected in my artwork, and that's how I conveyed my personality and yeah, my positivity basically in my artworks. And I'm loving how you're doing Ava and Ramona. It looks so adorable.
Thank you. It's really pushing me to draw differently too. It's like I'm having to step away from what I'm really comfortable with to do this, which is really cool. It's pushing my boundaries.
Yeah. And I feel like that's one thing I wanted to do with creating your character as well, because I don't usually draw many animals. For this one, it's like a dinosaur and a bunny, so I thought it would be like so fun. So yeah. And I do have another question for you about the Pixel Pop Academy. I was looking at your courses and the way that you're showing the kids how you're creating these characters is really fun. How did you like start getting passionate about teaching young artists? And what advice or like what do you love to teach about them? What is it about them that you know? That made you start about the Pixel Pop Academy?
So Pixel Pop Academy was born during the pandemic lockdowns. So because there was a lot of kids sitting at home, including my own kids, not knowing what to do. There were a little, there was a lot of mental health stuff happening with kids, including my own, were like really sad that they can see their friends.
Mm.
And one of my kids told me, he's like, why don't you start, teaching online? And I started really small. I started with like some friends and family and invited them over to these live sessions, just like what we're doing today. And I would be drawing while the kids would be drawing on any kind of technology they wanted, whether it was their iPad or on paper or however they wanted to create. And it just became really a fun event every week. And so those classes got recorded, and that's how Pixel Pop Academy became a thing. But the inspiration was really to just get the kids doing things that were not only helping them create something new that they'd never created before, but it also allowed them to really understand themselves in the, in comparison to the world, and be able to create those worlds with their own characters. So even though I'm teaching through, Stitch Bunny and Draco and Peachy the cat and all the different characters that I have, what really was what I wanted to convey was to allow kids to develop their own sense of style and their own characters and their own worlds. And that's really what happened over the course of that year that we were doing those live sessions. And today, what we're doing is we're still carrying on that tradition of allowing kids to be kids and to paint outside the lines, inside the lines, however they want to paint, but giving them that freedom to create anytime they want. So that's really how it was developed and it was created. So it was really just done out of love.
It's amazing. And about how love is your utility. I think that's like the best that mission that you can have with your art. And anyone who's just like recently joined, we have a 25% discount for Pixel Pop Academy. The link is in the description. You should go check it out. And yeah,
That's awesome. Thank you.
of course.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in India and in Kerala, and that's where uh, I was like started doing art basically. Growing up in a creative family, and then I moved to the U.S. a few years later. Uh, and yeah, that's when I kind of discovered NFTs and began creating art on social media as well, on Instagram. That's when I got introduced to it as well. And some of the artworks, even though, I'm in America, I love to tie it down back to where I was from. So I have like artworks. I have an artwork called Palakkad Vibes, and yeah, in the artworks that I do, sometimes I like to tie it down back to where I'm from.
So how old were you when you came from India?
I was around 7 years old, I think.
Did you speak English when you came here?
Yeah, I did. I loved reading like a lot of books, so I immediately like knew, kind of what to say. It took some time to get used to America, but it wasn't long before I was like, settled in, and yeah.
That's awesome. We have similar backgrounds. So I grew up in Iran until I was 10 years old. And when I moved to the States when I was 10, moved to LA in California. So, you know, for me, it was a lot tougher. Back then, it was a lot tougher when you moved, and I didn't speak English. So I had a little bit of a hard time adjusting for a few years. But it's great to see that you had an easy time.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has experiences, whether in on social media and stuff. Also, I feel like the Web 2 space and the Web 3 space really connects the people around the world, and that's how like people are able to share their artworks and know about each other as well. And there's a lot of other kid artists that I know from around that come from around the world, and this is basically how we connect, I feel like. Um, yeah, and I would say I do have a question for you also.
Sure.
How when like the world of sorry, could you like share a personal motto or philosophy that guides your like artistic or creative endeavors, like how you perceive art and how you are motivated to keep going with it?
I think one of my personal mottos is not being afraid, right? Not being afraid to experiment, not being afraid to play with different mediums. Trying different things is always something that I love to do, whether it's on paper or canvas. I'm always trying to figure out something new to play with, right? I'll do markers one day, and then I'll do paints another day. Then I'll play with spray paint, but I'm always having fun, right? So that's the first thing that I would focus on. The second thing that I do is I try not to be afraid of being judged, because a lot of times we're constantly being judged by other people. We feel nobody's really judging us because people are busy doing their thing, but we feel like we're being judged. So we tend to be really careful about how we experiment. Whereas if you just, you know, let go and had a good time, then what would happen is over time you would see your style grow, and you would figure out what looks good and what people respond to, and how to evoke emotion and all of those things. But that all happens when you're free to experiment. So those are the two things that I focus on the most. Is just being able to be free and play and experiment every time and have a good time. If you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly. I feel like, you need the confidence to believe in yourself to create artworks that you love and you enjoy. And was it like difficult for you to, build your confidence in, creating artworks and sharing it with others, or trying, new things in this space?
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I kept doing beforehand, because I had a design background, before Pixel Pop, what I used to do was I used to just draw stuff in the computer. So I wasn't really experiencing myself as an artist until I forced myself. I said, I'm not allowed to design these characters anymore. I'm only going to be hand drawing them. And once I did, and I said, you know what? I also told myself I'm going to grow in front of people. That means that I was going to experience sharing everything that I was doing on Instagram. Right back then, Instagram was a thing. It's huge now too, but that was the beginning of Instagram in 2010. So every day I shared whatever I was doing, no matter how good or bad it was. And that allowed me to keep me going because I knew that people were watching as well. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to do one for the audience today. And no matter how good or bad it was, I would do it. And today I look back and I'm glad that I did that, because I get to see how far I've come, and I get to enjoy the audience that I've built over the years. And it just makes me feel good to be able to grow in front of people. Sometimes I do look back and I go, oh, why did I share that one? Why did I think it was so good? But it doesn't matter, because it allowed me to share myself with people. And um, I was brave enough to share it with the world, no matter how bad or good it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I got the courage for that, but I just did. I had no other. I feel like sometimes we have no other choice but to create.
Yeah. I've and also I feel like, sometimes you shouldn't care a lot about if your artwork looks perfect or if it's exactly how you want it in your mind, because there's always going to be artworks that you would feel like I could have done better. But I feel like that's like the learning curve. And as we're growing in this in this space, we're always learning new things, or bringing our new styles or new ideas to the table, basically. um, and we're always creating new stuff, and I was interested in knowing, like, do you have any future projects or artworks that you're excited about for the future?
Yeah, there's always so many things I'm working on, because I can't stand still. No matter what's going on in the world, I have to be creating. So, from the Tokyo Punks and the character world, we have Pixel Pop, going to be coming soon as an NFT drop. Again, I already did a NFT drop with Pixel Pop once,
Mhm.
but it was more limited, small collection. So I might do more of a bigger collection with them soon.
Mhm.
The other one is obviously Tokyo Punks. We did Tokyo Punks 1, which was kind of like the beginning of the story, and we're expanding that story out to, um, they're basically not grown up, but they're multi-dimensional beings now instead of being single-dimensional beings.
Mhm.
That's going to be really cool to see what they do there. And then I'm always painting, so my painting process always has to go on. And if you look at what I did just this week is, I just minted my sketchbook. The second sketchbook, I did it a couple of years ago, and I just did it again.
Mhm.
And this isn't, I'm completing pages in my sketchbook and then I'm sharing it with people. So that one is more like very personal to me because it's like my personal sketches that usually people don't see, but I'm putting it out there in the world. So again, just trying to share and grow in front of people through these projects. And you know what? The market is slow right now, and if people buy, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too, because it's on chain and it's going to live forever. That makes me happy.
Exactly. It's really interesting that, you're willing to share your sketchbook pictures. I feel like every artist has a sketchbook where they always draw in it. And I think we should talk about, what brushes we're using right now for our artworks. Do you want to start?
Sure. I'm actually using a fill tool right now that makes it really easy to color in this app, which I love. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and choose this blue, and I'm going to try to see if I can match the blue that you have. Let's see, somewhere around there. Maybe it's not close, but my eyes see differently, like right there. So, all I do is I kind of trace my shapes
Yeah.
and voila. That's a little too bright, but it's super easy to color with this. And it gives it also this like paper cutout painting look.
Yeah.
So it's not like perfect, which I like.
Yeah, that's one
So
thing I saw in the Pixel Pop Academy, that you were using. And yeah, the brushes that, I'm using, I have some brushes on Procreate. My favorite, the one I'm using right now is called Tamar. And that's what I use to color. And I use this dry ink, and I always do my line art with that. And I always like love having texture in my line art, and
mhm.
so I try to find like new brushes that I haven't used before and experimenting with that as well.
Have you ever made your own brushes?
Oh, I've never made my own brushes, but I've tried to edit some brushes because not all brushes are like to my liking. So I always like go in there like this, and I edit stabilization. That's where you can like know how smooth the brush is, stuff like that. So I've done that before, but never my own brush. Have you made your own brush?
Yeah, a long time ago. I'll take like a Japanese brush or something, and then I'll paint a line on paper, and then I'll take a picture of it, and then I'll throw it down and you know edit it in that tool. So I've done it a couple times. I haven't done it a lot, but it's definitely fun to try, especially with your style and you like textures. You can buy pens and brushes that you love
Yeah.
that you do on paper, and then try to emulate that in your um, in your Procreate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I do also like download some brushes. Like, I downloaded some stars. It's not in this iPad, but um yeah, and I also want to know like how did you get started in digital art? We've talked about, your painting, and I wanted to know, was the process like, going into digital art easy? Was it hard? What was your favorite things about it? Stuff like that.
So you probably weren't born yet, but iPhone came out in 2007. When were you born?
2009, 2 years later.
2 years later. So when the iPhone came out, I was like, yes, because I was always a Mac user. As designers, we loved using Mac. So when the iPhone came out, and when I got my first Mac, I remember saying to my dad, I'm like, this thing is so huge. I wish I could just put it in my pocket and go out.
Yeah.
But when the iPhone came out, it felt like that. It felt like I finally had my computer in my pocket. And the first thing I did as soon as they opened up, because at the beginning when the iPhone came out, they didn't have um, an app store, so you couldn't do anything unless Apple just put it on there.
Mhm.
But once the app store opened up, there was all these drawing apps that started to come out. One of them was called Paper 53.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever messed with Paper 53, but it's a really simple, it's very much like what I'm using right now. It's very simple, it's easy to use. And I was like, this is what I love. I want to work with this. And I started to do hand paintings and doodles on my iPhone, and I started sharing it with my friends. So I became really, because I always liked to draw, and anywhere we went with the kids, or if we were at a party or an event, if I got bored, I was going to be on my iPhone drawing something. It's a very antisocial thing to do, so you shouldn't do it all the time. But you know, it
Yeah.
was, for me as an artist, it's like an addiction. I have to consistently keep drawing, no matter what. So uh, the iPhone really started me on my digital journey,
Mhm.
and I did have some like issues with it, because I was like, well, is this really considered art? Would people ever pay for this, or could I ever sell something like this? And after a while, I just decided that it was okay. It didn't really matter. And there was a very famous artist that also would do the same thing. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Hmm.
He's a British artist, very famous. He's older. He's in his 90s now, probably.
Oh.
But he was probably in his 70s when he started painting on his iPhone, and he would share it with friends. And I read the story that he did this big show with it. He did this huge show with his artwork, and with the iPhone artwork, and he printed them really, really large. And once I saw that, I was like, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. It's totally okay.
Exactly. I feel like that, if they can do it, I can do it mindset is what really matters, especially as an artist. And, uh, going into the digital art and, going into technology as well. How do you see like technology and art kind of blending together in the future now? Because now, we're going into NFTs, there's Web3, 3D art like materials. How do you think it would, benefit in the technology world? How would that mix?
I mean, look at what's going to happen with the Apple Vision Pro, or we have like some of these 3D, goggles that we're putting on.
Mhm.
I think those are really amazing tools that we can get involved with. There's some amazing artists already doing it, and they're on the forefront of doing virtual reality art. I feel like that's a lot of stuff is going to go, where you're going to create experiences with, Eva Ramona that you have created in the 3D world, and then you get, to allow people to come and visit. That's completely possible right now. If you had an Oculus, um, what is that called? One of these Oculus goggles, you can totally build one of these worlds for people to visit, and then put them in like a metaverse for people to enjoy. But it's just going to be easier and faster in the next 5 to 10 years, I feel, where you're going to have Apple Vision Pro coming out next year, kind of setting the tone for how amazing creating art is going to be in those environments. And yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. And I also feel like, in Remix is also, incorporating 3D elements, like, my Ava Ramona skateboard or Amber Victoria's bunnies in Remix as well. And that kind of ties into, uh, how to provide back to the community while also keeping what you love to do, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, we did, Remix did an amazing job creating 3D Bad Bunnies for us. And we were able to gift it to all the people who held the 2D Bad Bunnies.
Mhm.
And, to see them be remixed and created on uh, automatically, it was just incredible to watch it happen. And then people would mint those, and now they have like really personalized characters. So it was just incredible to watch what building community through gifting has done, and Remix has done a great job at doing that. And they're doing even further. I mean, the next thing that I'm doing with them is we're doing a limited edition T-shirt drop where you get the NFT for free, and then you get an opportunity to purchase the T-shirt.
Whoop, whoop.
So I'm really excited. I did a character called Love Child, so that's coming out soon. That's a little bit of news before anybody else has seen it.
Ooh. That's interesting. So, like, if anybody hasn't seen our remix accounts before, go and check out our remix community pages. It's in the description. And I'm really excited about what Sabet's going to release. That sounds so cool. And also, your bunnies, they're super cute. And I love how, there's a bunch of designs that you can choose from it. That gives more of a personalized touch.
Yeah, have you? Did you ever try the remix of like making a little bunny?
Yeah, I have, and I've collected, and it's so cool. And I love that, I have my own bunny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. Um, so what's next for you?
For me, I really do want to, keep continuing with my Avermont project. And I'm going to some events in the future as well. Um, I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee, pretty soon, actually, in October. Um, and it's called Kid 3 Co. And so excited. I'm going to speak about digital art, have a digital workshop, and also in November, I'm going to have a solo exhibition. That's going to be back in my hometown, India. And yeah,
Uh,
workshops there. You know, involving the kids. So it's not like your usual art gallery. It's like I really do want to make it interactive and super fun as well.
that's great. And I heard you're speaking at NFT NYC.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I love going every year. So April I'm going to NFT NYC and I've gone in the past before as speaker and I've had my art on the Times Square billboard. Um, so
Mhm.
I'm really looking forward to it. And on my website, avaramona .art, you could see like my Ava Ramona, and you can collect that as well. And that's one thing that I'm looking forward to because one of my artworks that's going to be an NFT NYC is going to be from Ava Ramona.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Are you gonna get another billboard this year?
Yeah, I really hope so. And in Ava Ramona, actually, one thing that I wanted to say about that is I through the project I really want to give back to the kids that don't get the same opportunities as me, but also have like the same art talent or even better. So I'm collaborating with Adobe for Kids for Ava Ramona. What they do is they give digital devices to deserving kids. So I'm, 10% of my Ava Ramona project will be going to that. So I'm really excited for it. And yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. How did you get in contact with Adobe? How was that relationship built?
Yeah, I applied as like, I have my art on AVAX in Avalanche. And actually, Emily LaRussa, the founder behind Adobe for Kids, also is in that. And
Oh, I know Emily. She's awesome.
yeah, she's like award-winning designer. And I was like a winner in her Adobe for Kids art challenge, design challenge, and that's how she got to know about me as well.
Yeah, she's wonderful. I met her at an event in I think NFT NYC or maybe it was Miami. It's all kind of a blur right now, but it was amazing meeting her and then looking up her work. And I follow her on Instagram and I just watch. And again, she's been another one that has, shared her journey on social media and shown how she's grown artistically and creatively in the past few years. So I just love watching her, and she just exponentially gets better, very much like you over time. It's just
Uh,
wonderful.
Thank you. And I agree with that. And I love how, you added your own personal touch to the Ava Ramona. I think that's so interesting. I love the hearts on that.
Yeah, I just thought we have some time, add some little things to them. It's cute.
Yeah. And how do you go about, collaborating with um, other brands or other artists? What do you feel is like important about collaboration?
I started collaborating very, very early in my career as a painter.
Mhm.
So, initially it was a bit bigger brands, and I would, work with like brands like Mont Blanc and Furla, and I think I even did a show at GameStop for Pixel Pop once. And they were all very small initially. I just basically would walk into the store and say, "Hey, can we do a show together?" And that's how it kind of started. And then over time, those relationships were, as I showed integrity and interest and love for the brands that I was working with, those relationships got bigger and better. I ended up holding, I think, two or three shows at a store called John Varvatos. I, collaborated with Mont Blanc for over 4 years, from 2016 till 2020. I did a lot of different shows at those stores, and they would fly me around the world to do shows around the world. I even got to do one with BMW and Mercedes and a lot of different ones. So those were important because they created social proof, right?
Yeah.
So where they showed people, hey, if Mont Blanc is willing to do work with Ali, his work must be good, and sometimes that's all you need is somebody to put a stamp of approval on you. And when you do work with other people, like me and you are working together, there's an importance to that too, because now your audience gets to see my work and my audience gets to see your work. And that collaboration is beautiful as well. Now we both are sharing the fans. So that's kind of how I see um, collaborations. And I do them all the time. I actually do this thing called the open collaboration, where I allow people to just use one of my characters in their artwork.
Mhm.
And that's something that I feel like is really important, to just trust artists to do what they want with my work. So it's been really cool.
Yeah. I feel like that's where like the creative economy is more headed into like collaboration and connecting with others. Um, and that's like an interesting aspect about how we're looking towards the future of art. Because before it wasn't like that. It was usually just like buying or selling art. But now it's gotten to a lot more different opportunities. And I was also wondering, how do you think kids could enter into art or collaboration or into like the more in the creative field.
Again, I feel like, if they first just start creating and not worrying about whether or not people are going to see it, and just having that interest. And once that interest is, um, nourished, and the kids are still willing to do it, and I feel like a little bit of encouragement from parents is great as well. And but there should never be any pressure on even adults as creatives to have to sell your work. I
Mhm.
believe that, selling your work is a byproduct of you creating it and sharing it. Once it gets to a point where people are interested in purchasing, that's when you focus more on the business aspect. But when you're starting out, I feel like you should focus on not ever worrying about making it for sale. It's about creating, it's about sharing, it's about enjoying the process.
Exactly. That's like the important thing. And I had like a big like perfectionist issue, as you would say, about, I would focus in on the details of my artwork when but my dad helped me to overcome that by, like managing my time and also like I guess showing how I could represent myself in my artworks without
Mhm.
worrying about if it looks perfect or if how other people would think about it. So I feel like having that self trust in yourself and having confidence in yourself is important as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you've done a wonderful job of sharing and creating all the stuff that you've done is really something to see. Most people twice your age haven't done what you've done. So it's definitely a thing to be proud of and excited about. And I can't wait to see what you do in the future.
Thank you. And a person like you, I feel like it's amazing to collaborate with, and I'm so excited to see where you're heading. You made such like an impact in this Web3 and artist space as well. And yeah, a lot of people are inspired by your artworks and you as a person as well. And yeah, how do you kind of manage this time between art and with people? What tools do you use to like organize your time basically or manage that?
You know, right now it's just basic calendar. I've just finally gotten used to using the calendar, which was something that I wasn't into using because I just wanted to have my schedule be free. But now I schedule things and I make sure to follow through. So it's kind of that's how I do it now. It's very basic. I don't, you know, I'm blessed enough to be able to do things that I want to do every day. And the cool thing is that I'm kind of fast at a lot of things like you are. So, if I need to get something done, I make sure it's done in a couple of hours, and I move on to the next thing. So, and I always have to basically enjoy what I'm doing, or it becomes really difficult.
Yeah, I feel like you need to like enjoy the process and not get caught up in other stuff as well. So the main thing, enjoy your art. And I feel like we're almost about to wrap up. How is your artwork going?
It's going good. I'm just on a different layer and I'm messing up my coloring. I'm almost done though.
Like,
Let me
I love that.
put it there. We go. That's better. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done.
Awesome.
Some clouds. The cool thing is that this is all on layers. So when I send this to you for you to come by and you can play with the layers if you want.
Awesome. I love this artwork as it is. It looks amazing.
I think it looks like they grew up a little bit.
Yeah.
This is like when they go to high school or something.
Yeah. I have one last question for you, and then we're gonna wrap up. What would be your advice for artists, young artists, artists like you? And yeah, that's the question. What's your advice to artists?
Let me My advice for artists, for young artists, I think it's just to keep going and never giving up and consistently creating as long as it's fun. If you feel like you're pressuring yourself to do something you're not interested in, then find something else that you're interested in. If you're having a good time with the electronics and creating digitally, then create digitally. If you don't, then move on and try to find something that excites you, like canvas and paper and watercolors. I love watercolors, right? I love ink and watercolors. So that's kind of how I see it. Just keep going. Don't, you know, don't give up and dream big, and I think it'll be great.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. And I think it's time to announce the surprise. In the beginning of live, we said, we had a surprise, and that's going to be we're taking this artwork and Sabit's artwork that we created on this YouTube live, and we're dropping it as a free reward to claim on both mine and Sabit's remix pages. So make sure to join mine and Sabet's community on Remix to be able to claim these two artworks. It's going to be so fun. And the reward will be a free digital download of the artwork. There's going to be 50 available to claim. And if you're one of the 50 to claim it for free, it unlocks access to buy one of the 20 canvas prints of the artwork. So super excited for that. This will drop on Tuesday, October 10th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Awesome. And as a cherry on top, you will get a 25% discount to Sabet's Pixel Pop Academy course. Link in the description. Thank you so much, Sabet, for joining me on this live. Um, I love learning about, your childhood to adult, about how you perceived art. Um, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much too. I loved seeing what you created with Pixel Pop and Stitch Bunny. Actually, that's Stitch Bunny wearing a Draco suit, right?
Yeah,
I forgot. And it's for Halloween. You did the Halloween version. It was awesome seeing you create, and I had such a great time creating your characters. They were Ramona. They were beautiful characters. I don't know how you do it. It's just the level of uh, art that you're creating at this level. It's amazing. So, and I'm excited to see what you create next. I'm also excited to see what you do with these two things, so we can make the canvas and the digital downloads on Remix on both of our accounts. So thank you so much for this today.
of course.
And I'm excited to do this again with you.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining. And it's been amazing having you. And I'm really looking forward to, how this is going to be on Remix and your
Yeah.
future as well, about Pixar Pop Academy, about Tokyo Punks, about your artworks as well.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you for whoever tuned in. We appreciate Remix for sponsoring this video and can't wait to do this again.
Bye
Have a
bye.
wonderful day. Bye bye.